What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Royal Figures Podcast. Do me a favor, before I get into this topic for today, I would like for you to go ahead and subscribe to my podcast. It's available on Apple and Spotify and all podcast platforms. And if you would like to engage with me for deeper details of my podcast and behind the scenes videos and scenes, you can actually go and follow me on my actual social media platforms, and the link will be in the caption. Now let's go ahead and get into the topic of conversation on this episode of the Royal Figures Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about Nia Long. And the reason why I'm going to talk about Nia Long is because Nia Long several days ago had posted a video of a therapist, counselor, of a black woman who was talking to two white women on a podcast. And what she was expressing is her feelings and how she feels black women are treated compared to white women. And I want to kind of go into detail because what Nia Long did was very strategic. And it was planned out perfectly, in my opinion, in how she actually tagged the Boston Celtics organization in regards to this podcast on We Can Do Hard Things. And she actually put a hashtag of a name, and that name is Kathleen Lynch. And the reason why Nia Long is still upset, and this happened last year ago around the month of October of 2022, is because Nia Long feels that she did not like how the Boston Celtics organization handled the situation between her ex-fiance, Ime Udoka, who was the head coach of the Boston Celtics that led that team to the NBA Finals. And he was one of the best coaches in the NBA at that time. And she did not like how the Boston Celtics and Danny Ainge, who's the president or general manager of the Boston Celtics organization at that time, actually brought out Ime Udoka for him sleeping with another woman who was a member of the Boston Celtics organization, and her name was leaked out last year, is Kathleen Lynch. And let me tell you why that is so profound, what Nia Long is doing, because Nia Long is saying is that me, as the fiance of Ime Udoka at that time, y'all made a private matter public. Now, let me bring a couple of names of people who agree with Nia Long. You had Stephen A. Smith on his podcast. He had talked about a very heated discussion on how he was upset with the Boston Celtics because he claims, because he has a lot of ears and resources behind the scenes of the NBA, he says that there have been a plethora of coaches that are not the color or the same skin of Ime Udoka, that are white men who have done things of sleeping with staffers and people that works for their team's organization. And this situation has never been put out to the public. And Stephen A. Smith challenged the Boston Celtics is that why would you put out Ime Udoka like he did something wrong? Because at the end of the day, it's wrong from a business perspective, but he didn't do nothing illegal because it was consensual sex. You have to think about it for a moment. Why would the Boston Celtics hold a press conference like Ime Udoka did something illegal, like Ime Udoka did something that caused harm to the woman he was sleeping with that was not his fiance, which is Nia Long at that time, and they protected the woman whose name is Kathleen Lynch, but did not protect the woman who was the fiance at that time, and her name is Nia Long. This is why Nia Long was upset, because they made a very private situation public. If you're going to call out Ime Udoka, what I had needed for the Boston Celtics to do at that time is call out the name of the woman who they was having consensual sex together, and her name was Kathleen Lynch. Now let's kind of break down the details, y'all, so y'all kind of understand what I'm talking about and why I am making this a story. So Kathleen Nemo Lynch, which is 34 years old, and the affair has led to a Udoka season-long suspension from the NBA team at that time. Now, Lynch has long-time personal ties to the team's chief of basketball operations, Danny Ainge, who was 63 at that time, who knew about the investigation but remained quiet. Understand what I'm saying? He knew about the investigation but remained quiet. But he remained quiet to a certain extent, because let me tell you about the backstab that he did on your Ime Udoka. He actually understood the situation that was going on. He knew that Ime Udoka didn't do anything wrong, far as there's something that was illegal. He did not take advantage of this white woman, Kathleen Nemo Lynch. He actually involved himself in a consensual sexual relationship with Kathleen Lynch, which means two people, the man, Ime Udoka, and the woman, Kathleen Lynch, knew and had consented sex together. He did not force himself upon her. She did not force herself upon him. They both came together and agreed to do this. Now, it's very important to understand and note is that Nia Long and Ime Udoka were fiancés, right? And Kathleen Lynch was married. She is a married woman, and it's apparently, doing on my research, she's a Mormon. How about that? She was married, so she slept with another man knowing that she was married. Now, let's kind of go deeper into the story. Danny Ainge was deeply disappointed by the affair, especially given the fact that they each have families. Now, Lynch, the woman, is married with 3 children, while Udoka is a father and was engaged to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air actress Nia Long, and she played in a plethora of movies. Now, this is what a quote that was said involving the situation. Everyone regrets what happened and is taking responsibility and humbled and trying to fight for their families and lives back. This is what a secret source said. Now, let me tell you something about these sources. If you're not willing to put your name and attach to your quote on what you're saying, that's hogwash. Let me tell you why. It's because you're going behind and living behind the scenes. Because what it was is that why would the Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics organization and the owner of the Boston Celtics put out Ime Udoka like he did something illegal, like he forced himself upon this white woman, and you did not put her name involved in the situation? She worked for the Boston Celtics organization. She had dealt with the traveling of when you have like an NBA player or NBA staffer or coach that's actually hired by the organization. She will correspond with the families to make the process easier for traveling and moving. This is what she did. So let me go a little deeper in this situation based off of the research. She actually met with Nia Long several times at Nia Long's location at her house, sat down and had tea and coffee, and she was actually laughing it up and arranging Nia Long on her moving to Boston. And this happened several times. So just imagine the hurt and the pain of Nia Long welcoming somebody into her home and ingratiating herself, that thinking that this woman is doing a nice deed to help me and my family out in the process of moving to Boston. But all throughout the process, she is laying down with her fiance. But yet the Boston Celtics organization was reluctant on giving her name up, but they was not reluctant in making Ime Udoka like the problem or the person that is causing all the problems and commotion in what really happened. No, what really needed to be done is allow this situation to play out privately. This needed not to be a public situation. And if you did decide to make it a public situation because it was still under investigation at that time, then you should have brought not only Ime Udoka's name out, you should have brought the lady's name out at that time, who was Kathleen Lynch, because she played just as much as a major role in the situation as Ime Udoka. This is the foolishness that when I'm talking about. This is why I feel for Nia Long, because she's upset. She's a black woman and she feels like she was done wrong, and she still has not recovered from a mental perspective of the public shame and anguish that you think that a black woman is going through at this time because of the failure of handling this situation as professionals, which is the Boston Celtics organization. And I thought it was quite curious to me when the podcast came up, when the black woman had made some very alarming comments about how the black woman is portrayed. The black woman is not treated with respect, but how when a white woman cries and how the whole world seems to come to the white woman knees at points because she is crying, and her tears are more important than a black woman's tears. A white woman's fear is more important to an organization than a black woman's fear. No one from the Boston Celtics organization cared about Nia Long's feelings and her emotions. And the reason why I feel this type of way is because how much does the black woman has to go through the pain and the anguish and the disrespect? And this is a symbolization of how you have a white organization, a white owner, a white president, a white general manager who disrespects the fiance at that time, who is Nia Long, and they made a private situation public. And this is why Nia Long is bleeding out her pain of trauma of going through that public humiliation still, even to this day. How much respect, how much disrespect Nia Long has to continue to go through. How much disrespect that Ime Udoka had to go through. Because let me tell you something, what they tried to do, they tried to ruin Ime Udoka's coaching career. They tried to whiteball him outside the NBA because he did something that Danny Ainge took dear to his heart, and he did not like a black man sleeping with a white married woman. But no one from the Boston Celtics organization have the galls to come out and say that she willingly slept with Ime Udoka. She wasn't coerced. She wasn't drugged. She wasn't forced. She willingly slept with Ime Udoka. It was consensual. Let me say this again. It's so very vital that I make this point and drive it home in my closing. It was consensual. It was consensual sex. What do I mean by consensual to my non-scholars out here? Consensual means that when a man and woman both agree to have sex together. I know you know my situation, Ime. I am married. I can't let my husband know about it. Ime Udoka said to Kathleen, the white woman, is that you know that I am engaged to my longtime fiance, Nia Long. She can't know nothing about this. But I'm willing to lay down and have sexual affair with you if we're able to do this privately. This is how when two adults come together, and there's nothing illegal about it. But from a moral, from an ethical perspective, there is something to be said about it. It is unethical. Was it unprofessional? You damn right it was unprofessional. But at the same token, should this situation have been taken public? You damn right it should not have been taken public. No, it should not have been taken public. And the fact that they took this private situation public, they protected the white woman and they did not protect the black man or the black or the black woman who was the fiance at that time, which was Nia Long. This is the hypocrisy on what the Boston Celtics organization did. This was their way of getting back at Ime Udoka. This was their way of trying to ruin his professional career as an NBA head coach. But it didn't work. They tried it. You know the slogan. Yeah, they tried it, but it didn't work. Now, hopefully during this process, Ime Udoka has plenty enough time to do some soul searching, to work on himself and try to mend the relationship, whether they want to decide to keep going as co-parenting or try to come back together in a relationship. That's between Ime Udoka and Nia Long. But at the same token, the topic of conversation here is how they try to protect the white woman, but not protect the black man and the black woman in the situation that was treated unfairly. But I'm glad Ime Udoka had another chance to be able to still coach. I believe he's the coach now for the Houston Rockets. I am so glad for Ime Udoka, because at the end of the day, was it unethical? Yes, it was unethical. Was it unprofessional? Yes, it was unprofessional. But did it deserve for him being fired from the Boston Celtics organization? No. No. Like several people have come out, Matt Burns, Steven Jackson, Stephen A. Smith, a whole lot of other former players and current players that have said some things, and even NBA journalists have come out and said that this is a situation that happens in professional sports, not just NBA basketball, but it happens in Major League Baseball. It happens in college football. It happens all the time. But you know why you don't hear a lot about it? Because the organization keeps it private. Boston Celtics, you should be ashamed of yourself. Everybody that was involved, from the owner to the president to the general manager, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I stand with Nia Long. And I hope that she's able to heal. And she may not ever be able to heal from the public shame and the public humiliation that, I have to say this, that her ex-fiance took her through. Yes, but let's make no mistake about it. He's not the only problem. He was not the only problem. It was Kathleen Lynch that was the part of the problem too as well, because it takes two people to tango. She knew Nia Long. She met Nia Long several times. She smiled in her face, getting her through the process, but she was backstabbing her every step of the way. Y'all let me know in the comment section, what do y'all feel about the situation? Do you feel that Nia Long was wrong for bringing this situation back up and tagging the Boston Celtics organization about her hurt, her pain that she is still going through from the situation, on how she felt the Boston Celtics poorly handled the situation between her ex-fiance and Kathleen Lynch? Y'all let me know in the comment section. Make sure you stay tuned to the next episode of the Royal Figures podcast.